Hey guys, it's Mana here, and welcome back to some more Everlasting Summer. Now, a friend of mine asked me recently why I most of the time don't wear my glasses while recording this. He asked if I had my contacts in. I don't. I can read this without my glasses on, thank goodness. And my eye doctor wants me to do more close-up reading without my glasses because he thinks it's helping my eyes. So, that's why I've been doing it. I'm sorry if it's weird. But whereas other video games, I need my glasses so I can see other details. Whereas this, I don't really need to see all the details. I just need to be able to see the words because I'm just reading it. So, jumping back into it now. Hurry up. Time is running out. Hey, wait a sec. Make a choice. Are you coming or not? Well, let's follow the voice because we're insane. I like insane. Okay, let's go. Anyway, he sounded more credible than the crazy pioneer. You mean yourself? From the future? Of course, this solution could be fatal, but the alternative isn't any better. And if it is fatal, I can just reload to that point. I just took a shot in the dark. Okay, so where are we going? We are already there. Oh, we teleported? My eyesight started to fade, and I felt my consciousness leaving me. Epic fail! Do not follow the voice. No, you know what? I can't just believe you in only a couple of minutes. At least I've known that... Okay, that's not my eyes tricking me. At least I've known that other guy for a little longer, and his arguments seem to be more weighty. Like how they spell known. You'll be sorry. Those words sounded like they were coming from another world. The voice seemed to disappear. Of course, I couldn't be sure whether my choice was right or wrong. I can! It was a blind guess enforced by my time limit. Nevertheless, whether I'm right or not, we'll find out soon. In a couple of minutes, I was standing at the bus stop with all the other pioneers. Everybody's here, began Olga Dmitrievna. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you've spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories of Sovyanik. I also hope that you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something, and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader looked away. It's like she was trying to keep the tears inside. I didn't expect her to get so emotional. Although her speech sounded like complete nonsense to me, as usual. The pioneers started to crowd into the bus, babbling cheerfully. I decided to hold on a little and say a proper goodbye to this camp. All of a sudden, I felt a deep urge to throw a coin. Of course, there's no fountain here, and I honestly didn't feel like returning, but it's still just superstition, and I don't believe in them. At least, I never believed in them before. Digging through my pockets, I found a couple of candy wrappers, a pencil, and a scrap of paper. I held them a moment, then squatted, put the paper on the ground, and scribbled a few words. You are here for a reason. Grinning at my stupidity, I threw the scrap under the wheels of the bus and got into the cabin. I found a place in the middle. But the strangest thing was that everyone sat in pairs and only I was alone. However, what's the difference now? I'll either disappear or I'll restart everything in a couple of hours. The bus was slowly moving towards the district center, occasionally bouncing over the bumps in the road. It was impossible to see anything beyond the old windows in the pitch black dark of the night. Anyway, I couldn't care less about the surrounding countryside. I just sat and waited for the inevitable. for the first time in a long time, while my head was completely empty. The pioneers around me enjoyed the trip. Yolanda and Alyssa were playing cards. Lena was reading a book, and Slavia was sleeping. Miku was trying in vain to start a conversation with Zenea, and Zenea was trying really hard not to start killing people. Electronic and Shirk were crafting something, as always. I was the only one completely ignored by everyone. It might be slightly far-fetched perception, but I got used to the role of being the center of the universe in the camp. I thought that everything revolved around me. Well, that might be so up to a certain degree, but here and now I'm only a foreign object, an out-of-place molecule in the harmonic pattern of the crystal grid. I'm not sure how long we'd spent on the road, but sleep had already started to overcome me. I was desperately fighting Morpheus, trying to stay awake as long as I could. After all, it's quite possible that today is the last day of my life. Well, it was earlier. Then probably it's reasonable to cling as hard as I could to these few hours of meaningless, useless existence. However, physical fatigue and, more importantly, emotional fatigue took its toll, and I fell asleep. Oops. Let's just say it's day 8. Let's just go with that. A sharp pain throbbed through my entire body. It felt especially sharp in my temples. It feels like they're ready to shatter into 1,000 little pieces, giving the wind free access to my empty head. I probably would not have been able to stand even 5 minutes of such torture if I hadn't opened my eyes in time. I was somewhere. It was impossible to tell precisely where. My mind was clouded in mist. My thoughts were confused. The moment between unconscious and conscious states when you vividly remember your dreams. I was going somewhere by bus and was about to doze off when suddenly a girl came up to meet me and began to speak quickly. I couldn't understand a word, but the girl looked very upset. I failed to understand what she needed from me. Time passed and she kept talking on and on. It was getting really annoying. I wanted to ask her to cut it out or at least calm down a bit, but I failed, either because I didn't manage to say anything or because my words didn't reach her. I couldn't even see her face. I was simply listening and staring and listening. Perhaps it wasn't important for me then. Surely you would not try to remember what a mosquito disturbing your sleep looks like. Surely you wouldn't manage to recall the frequency of its flapping wings or the inclination of its proboscis after that. And this girl is just one of millions of voices that disturb you from concentrating, from thinking, from falling asleep. The louder her voice grew, the harder it got for me to catch her words. The bus cabin, the seats worn by time, the uneven floor, the rusty ceiling, the cracked glass of the windscreen, everything was floating away, along with her. And then I felt a unique sense of relief. It didn't matter how real the bus and the girl had been, it was nothing but a bug to me. And here I am, hanging in total emptiness and falling inside a dream. Hey, that's our old bedroom. Wow, dreams can be really something. Not quite a nightmare, yet definitely not something pleasant. I got up, rubbed my face to get back to reality, gave a loud yawn, and prepared to clean myself up. It was a really gray morning. Unable to find my hygiene kit on the nightstand, I concluded that I could manage without it. It was hard to get dressed. My hands were trembling like hell. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and checked out my 2-week stubble. Well, perhaps over to Giovanna has a razor. You haven't noticed yet? It was only when I went outside that I suddenly understood that I'm not in the pioneer camp. I'm back in my apartment. And I've just come out of my room, into a passageway, and not out of the cabin. I was overwhelmed with surprise, with dismay, with fear, even with terror. But how? I sat down on the bed and buried my face into my hands, trying to remember the chain of yesterday's events. Yeah, the bus. The last day of the term. Yeah, I fell asleep and woke up back home. Well, to some degree, it might even seem quite logical. It seemed that the initial astonishment has worn off during the first few seconds. After all, the fact that I came back like this after a week-long absence is no stranger than my sudden appearance at some pioneer camp of the 80s in the first place. The events of the last 2 days flashed before my eyes in an instant. That mysterious pioneer, his words. But how did I manage to get back to reality then? According to him, I was going to be stuck there forever, and there's no exit. On the other hand, I wasn't alone. That pioneer at the bus stop and the mystery voice emphasized the contrary, that the exit exists. Does that mean I found it? I managed to get out of the endless loop? But how? Nevertheless, I wasn't sure whether I should rejoice or grieve. Over the last week, I'd kind of gotten used to the everlasting inner monologue, the search for answers, and the in-depth analysis of everything. So I simply couldn't accept this fact as it was, without figuring out what exactly happened to me. Sure, he told me that I'm the only one who has observed the existence of other guys like me during their very first loop. Does that mean anything? Anyway, all his theories and ideas instantly collapsed like a house of cards. Now I had to decide how I should react. Of course, I should rejoice. After all, I'm back to the real world. Maybe the last 7 days were just a dream. Indeed, there's absolutely no evidence that I really was there. I don't see my pioneer uniform anywhere. I look my age just like I did before. My phone is on the table, fully charged. But one can't deceive one's own memory. One can't live through such terrifically real experiences in a dream. I still remember the events of the whole week in great detail. Perhaps I was in a coma all this time. An ironic laugh escaped my lips. Nah, that's not an option either. Then all's well that ends well? The last few hours in the camp flashed through my mind. Indeed, I wasn't hoping to get out, either from that camp or from that reality. And I was pretty much ready for another week, to another week, and another one. I'd accepted my role. I reconciled with my destiny. And what was I supposed to do after all that stuff happened anyway? I heaved a doomed sigh, got up from my bed with considerable effort, and went to my computer. That's weird, but according to it, only 14 hours have passed since my disappearance from this world. Not a whole week. A new message in the instant messenger. Hey Seymon, yesterday, it was legendary. See you later. My college friend. It was him who invited me to that party with the rest of his college friends that I was going to attend. Suddenly, all my senses came back to me. The headache, the dizziness, all the symptoms of a hangover. It looks like I indeed attended that party yesterday. And I was partying hard, so there was no pioneer camp. But then, where did all these memories, emotions, and feelings come from? All of this was so incomprehensible that I became enraged. I began cursing foully, trying to tear my hair out and hammering on the keyboard with my fists. I didn't return to a normal state until there were no keys left on it. Why should I care so much? Nobody worries when a dream or hallucination ends. Moreover, people are usually glad that happens. Was I really that prepared to stay there that my return to reality became so undesirable to me? And then a simple and obvious thought crossed my mind. Perhaps I'm just going insane. Indeed, madmen frequently have visions which they perceive as reality. But I had all the symptoms of insanity. I never leave the four walls of my prison. I never socialize. I have lots of psychological problems. Well, that explains a lot. My dark, nervous laughter echoed in the room. Guess it's the right time for me to visit a therapist, or rather a psychiatrist. Or should I just render myself to an asylum? A horse! A horse! Half my kingdom for a horse! I cried at the top of my lungs, between bouts of manic laughter. Dispute not with her, she's a lunatic. The racket my neighbors made on the wall calmed me down somehow. If I'm tripping that bad, it looks like only a lobotomy can help me. And on that note, guys, we're going to call it there. I'm logging off now, and I will see you guys later. And remember, do something nice for a stranger today. You may just save a life. Bye.